Welcome back to Teaching Music Tomorrow. My name is Anne Molesky, and I am here with my good friend Victoria Bowler. And today we are back for more about instruments. And today is an exciting day because we're going to talk about the recorder. Victoria, how do you feel about the recorder?
I don't think I want to say on air. I don't think I want to have this conversation with everyone listening. The recorder and I have been through a lot. Boy, what can I say about the recorder? I have a difficult relationship with recorder. What about you?
I do as well. It's one of those things, it's interesting. So when I changed campuses, when I was teaching in Texas, I was traveling for a couple of years and then I went to a new school and I had no idea how to get my 4th and 5th graders to like me. I mean, I was a young teacher, I was green, and I was just really, really struggling. So I did a Donors Choose project to get recorders, which I think my family members pretty much solely funded, sweet people. Right. But anyway, so I got all of these 5th graders recorders, and they were so darn motivated to play these recorders. It was unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. And so I think, everybody's feelings aside, that's the important piece, right? There's so many memes on the internet that are like, oh, my kid brought home a recorder. Like, why do I have to learn the recorder? Because it's fun and you make music and they like it. And so because of that, I think it's really important to make it an integrated part of our music curriculum where it feels appropriate, right? Like, I'm not one to do a recorder unit where I sit down and I like go through a method book where I am like, today's our day that we're going to learn the next note and then learn the songs that go along with it. Like, that's not my jam. So, what about you? I've talked enough.
Well, let's talk about the benefits of doing a unit approach, because I know that's a very popular way that people do it, and for good reason, right? Because when I take time in the same way that Anne, you chose a primary instrument, right? When you got to your undergrad and master's degree, you chose trumpet. And if you had had an integrated approach to brass or to wind instruments or to any other, piece of the ensemble, your trumpet skills would not be where they are now. And you are a much better trumpet player than I have ever even had a prayer to be, because you have done so much concentrated work in trumpet, right? And so that's really the benefit of doing an isolated approach that's divorced from other music making experiences. When we do a unit of study, students really, really, really get the chance to dive into recorder and all the wonder it brings to our world. And they get a lot better at all of the things that are involved in the mechanics of playing a wind instrument, right? So neither you nor I was just going to say that you and I, we do not do the isolated unit. We do integrated things, but it's not because we don't like focusing on recorder, right? The question is, what's the role of the recorder in a general music class? And if your name were Anne Molesky, recorder teacher, you would have a different answer,
Yeah, so let me backpedal a little bit because, I think like the ideal circumstance, I'm trying to think of who the educator is, but I know some ORF educators who have like their students wear their recorders around their neck during music class. And I think if I had like students every single day and like we had like an isolated introduction to recorder unit and then they felt like very confident with those skills, like that would be a beautiful thing. For me, I would have like 1 or 2 days where it's like, okay, we're going to take today and it's going to be a recorder day, because if we're going to use this in our classroom in an integrated way, like there does have to be some like nuts and bolts of like, this is the recorder, don't blow on it like it's a trumpet or it's not going to make a sound that you like, right? So all of those things are important considerations. Absolutely. And then also I want to say, like, if I start recorder in 4th grade, we still have to start, as you'll see when I share here in a minute, with songs that are a little more simple, right? And so they're not going to be doing like fa and syncopation and like some curricular elements with the recorder the first time they pick up the recorder as they would if we were doing things with speech and singing and body percussion and unpitched percussion that they are more familiar with, right? So let me kind of like put my foot in my mouth. I'm going to take it out a little bit. But my point is, like, I'm not going to take necessarily, and I know it does work beautifully. And again, if I was a new teacher at a campus and I couldn't get my fifth graders' attention, I absolutely did it because it's something that motivated them. I took the last 9 weeks of school. That was our recorder. They performed at graduation. Mm-hmm. They loved it. Parents loved it, and they were happy. And the end, right? So whatever works. But in an ideal situation, we want it to be I would prefer it to be a little bit more integrated, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'll step off my soapbox now.
Yes, I have also done the stop everything and just do recorder. And this is a separate, right. This is like a separate, larger curriculum planning conversation. I have also done stop everything and do recorder. I was also a first year teacher. I also did it with fourth and fifth grade. And they were golden kids. Like they were such great kids. And that one of the things that made our classes even better was that everyone was so motivated to do the recorder. Right. And so I, everybody had their soprano recorder, and I went off of a method book and I did the whole thing, and they loved it. And I, covered my ears for however long it was. And it was great, but that's not the approach that I take today, even though that approach has its place.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're going to dive on into some ways to consider making it a more integrated part of your curriculum. Before I go ahead and share my screen, I do want to mention, because we just dove into our feelings about recorder. But if you have not yet gone to the website Teaching Music Tomorrow to enter in your email, completely free to access this set of episodes and the resources along with it, including an extra classroom management thing, go ahead and do that, because you can get our slides and our sequencing and all of that good stuff. So I'm going to sing a song here, and I want you to think about what it might be. Can you close your eyes, Miss Victoria?
Oh, gosh.
And it can be one, you can open your eyes now. It could be one of like 80 million different songs that we learned in kindergarten and first grade to practice our higher versus lower sounds that are really so in me now at this point in your career. So can you please, in your musician career at this elementary school, so can you please sing with me using your so me, but we're going to sing Starlight if you remember it, or if your younger brother or sister who's in kindergarten sings it all the time, then you can sing along with us. Ready, go, starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. Wish I might have a wish I wish tonight. Okay. And then this is our rhythm. Can you please clap the rhythm? We're just going to speak it. Ready, go. Ta, 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 ti, 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 ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, 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 ta. Yeah, and someday we'll have our Takadimi versus Chave syllable debate, but today is not that day. Okay, so we know that these notes are so in me. Those are the only two notes in this entire song, right? So with our brand new recorders that we just got, boys and girls, can you please take them out? And I want you to take your right hand, everybody raise your right hand, and put it down at the bottom of your recorder. And then on the very back of your recorder, there is one hand, there is one hole, rather. You're going to take your other free hand and put your thumb right over that hole. And then if you come to the front, there is a top hole, we're going to put our top finger on that hole. And then we're going to put our third finger on the next hole, and we're going to press to make sure that it is completely covered and that no air can escape. This probably, teacher talk, would not be our first. I said your brand new recorders. This would not be the first time, right? This would maybe be like in the first couple of weeks, though. The first week or two is just pick a note and get them used to making a sound, not overblowing, practicing playing just some ta and TT rhythms back and forth, right? So for this song, however, boys and girls, we are going to be using our notes that we know C, and that is going to be our so. So we're going to lift up that top finger, and the only thing we have to do to play our mi, which is A, is add our top finger back to the recorder. So will you please be my echo? This is going to be so fun for everybody in their car to listen to. Please be my echo. And our delay is horrible.
Everyone.
This is your warning right now. Here we go. Yeah. So teacher talk for just a minute. I would have probably done some patterns first that were just C and just A, right? And then kind of slowly worked my way into this alternating theme. The reason why I think we can go right into what I just shared with this kind of echo imitation theme is because every beat always alternates. It changes with the tas and the toddies or the TTs, right? It changes with the quarter notes and the eighth notes. However, it's always an alternating high versus low, so versus me, C versus A. So they get used to kind of being in that rhythm, right? And so we can kind of go back and forth. And then we can play it all together, which we're going to go ahead and skip ahead for time's sake today. So then the next thing is this song is about creating wishes, right? So here's one of my wishes, be my echo. Extra long recess.
Extra long recess.
And I'm going to play this on my C today. Here I go. Great. And then maybe I'd come up with a different pattern. And we do that for all of these. The next one is puppies in our classroom. And again, for the sake of time, we'll just go through. Naps, yawn, after lunch. And then pizza every single day. Okay, so now we have some new patterns that can become our B section, right? So we would take some turns kind of doing some echo stuff where I would play extra long recess on maybe just C, and everybody plays a different wish on C. I would play a different one on A. Everybody would do something different than me, and then we would mix it up with both the notes and the wishes, right? So there's an opportunity to kind of have this back and forth. Where they hear a model, they can copy me if they want. Nobody's going to know because it's like a class traffic jam and everybody's playing. And you can, as the teacher, have a pretty good read since we're just dealing with two notes and tas and TTs, like who needs a little bit of extra attention. You can use your proximity. This is a classroom management thing, but you can use your proximity to get close to a student who might need some extra help, right? And kind of take like a millisecond to correct some things if need be. And then this is another one of those moments where it's like, what do you want to do next? What are the kids ready for? Do they need more attention, making sure the holes are covered and playing with a slower air? And articulation and all that kind of stuff. Both air and articulation are really hard for me on recorder because I'm a trumpet player and I was taught to never, ever, ever end a note with my tongue. So it's like going against every bone in my body because you stop the air, right? You don't stop it with the tongue. But anyway, so you could do it that way. You could have students go into small groups. You could do a huge class rondo where everybody's singing, maybe to get a little break from the recorder, right? Everybody sings Starlight, Starbright, and then these two students get to improvise on these wishes with C and A, and then everybody sings and the next two students. All of those different things. So very similar process to what we've kind of seen with the other instrument stuff that we've talked about. Right, where we have kind of this speech-based thing before we get into using something outside of our bodies. So that is Starlight, Starbright.
I love it. A couple things to highlight here in your approach to recorder. You are starting with So and Me, We're starting with left hand, C and A, and you took us back to kindergarten songs, but they're kindergarten songs totally reimagined. They're kindergarten songs with like even though, and this is such a good conversation for another episode about repertoire, like, is Starlight Star Bright a kindergarten song? Yes. And it's a 5th grade song, right? It just depends on how you are using it. So this is a really beautiful opportunity, and you've modeled a really great way to kind of recycle some repertoire from earlier years and reimagine it in a different way. So you had us, Anne, I'm going to see if I can speak through that flow, and you tell me like what stops I'm missing, because this was really beautifully done. You have us echoing on just C, on just A, and then we are echoing little fragments of Starlight Star Bright. And even before that, you had us clapping the rhythm of it all together, because whatever else happens when we are holding a recorder, if the rhythm is not there, no one's together, you know? So we're clapping the rhythm, we're echoing on A, we're echoing on C, then we're going through and playing each of those little fragments. And then from there, we get to have all of these wishes. And that's where students have some choice about what they're going to do and how we're going to handle this switch right here. Something that is beautiful about this approach, all I have to do is move my index finger. Boy, that is as simple as it gets with recorder, you know? I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And I know there's a heated debate, and I mean, we keep saying we're going to keep these episodes short, and we don't, but it's interesting because I know there's a lot of discussion, not necessarily debate, about whether if we're going to use solfa with recorder, which I do because I use solfa in my classroom. Do we start with so mi or do we start with BAG? It depends. I mean, honestly, my kids know movable do. So if I use C and A as so and mi, that means that F is do. F is really tricky for kids, like, to go there. So oftentimes I'll do so mi stuff, and then I'll go to G is do, and now we're going to do like hot cross buns, right? And so they know movable do, and we talk about that. You'll see a little bit of kind of that movable do with a tone ladder in our next episode. But I think that it's important that it doesn't have to be either or. It's like, I'm going to start with so mi because it's just that motion. That's intentional. But then also they know movable do. So now just know that BAG is mi, re, do. And a big part of playing on the recorder is highlighting, for me in my classroom, is highlighting the fact that these are absolute pitches. This is not always so. This is not always mi. This is C and this is A. Today we're calling it so and mi. I'm getting all fired up.
I love it.
Over here. I need to take a breath. But anyway.
Oh, man. And there was something else that I wanted to talk. Oh, man, it flew right out of my face. Oh, one of the things that people will often say is like, how do you start recorder before they can read standardized Western notation on the 5-line staff? And there was there was none of that. And we didn't need it. Right? So you could link it to the staff notation with this activity if you wanted to, but we're not relying on the staff notation to do the actual music part. And if anything, you probably made that choice, and tell me if you want to phrase this differently, because the staff notation would have gotten in the way of the actual music making experience.
Yeah, it's an extra processing step. And it's memorization too, right? That's something that they're going to get. They're going to memorize it. It's like memorizing letters of the alphabet. I'm going in and like the sounds that the alphabet makes. They get it when they have the context for it. So like now that they figure, so this will be a natural extension to maybe the last couple of weeks for those kids who are going to go into band, choir, or orchestra and need to have that standardized Western notation piece. Then, okay, I can prep them for that appropriately. Right. But this is based on everything we've already done in our classroom. And I don't use standardized 5-line staff notation hardly ever in my classroom. And that's a totally different conversation. But anywho. Okay.
I love it. Okay, so let's back up before, you mentioned that maybe this would be the first experience with the recorder, maybe not, and it would just depend on, what grade you're doing this with. You didn't specify a grade, like if this is 3rd grade versus you teach at a, K through 6th grade school, right? The pacing of that is going to be different. So let's imagine that we wanted to back up. And you also made a big deal about helping me figure out which one was my right hand and which one was my left hand, which is actually a really important thing for me because as a 5th grader, I still get it kind of confused and I'm a little embarrassed and I don't know what to do. So I'm always just like looking around to see what's happening. So Anne, will you just take your left hand, think about it, and will you take your left hand, will you put it on your head? Beautiful. Now will you take your right hand out in front of you? Will you wiggle your fingers? Will you wiggle just your thumb and your pinky? Will you wiggle just your index finger and your pinky together? What about your ring finger and your pinky together? Oh, this is the hardest thing you've ever had us do, Miss Victoria. I know, 5th grade. Will you take your hand, put it out in front of you? And will you take your right hand, only your right hand, because your left hand's on your head? Yes, yes. We'll look around the room. Nope, switch your hand. Yep, yep. Okay, now we're good. Your right hand is in front of you. Will you pick up an imaginary object with your right hand, and will you look at it? Oh, that is so cool. Will you hand it to your neighbor on the right? Oh, guess what? Something else is in front of you. Pick it up. It's an imaginary thing. Look at it. Oh, it's the coolest thing ever. Hand it to your neighbor on the right. Now imagine that we're all having, pencils or erasers or rocks or whatever it is, and you're going to pick up, pass, pick up, pass, pick up, pass while we sing. Al citrón de un fandango, sengo, sabare de la rondella con tu tricky, tricky tron. Great. Okay, so we've done this game. We already know it. Beautiful. Now you can take your left hand off. We are only using our right hand to pass. This time, if you have a carpeted floor, this will work great. If not, you'll want to make an adjustment and maybe you have very trustworthy 5th graders, or maybe you decide to do this whole activity with a pencil. Just totally depends. And another thing, if you have very trustworthy 5th graders, then do it with the soprano recorder in front of you. If you want to take a step back, you can just take off the top mouthpiece so there's not any temptation to put this in your mouth. We're not putting the recorder in our mouth. Okay, so our hand is on our head and our recorder is in front of us, and we're going to Al citrón de un. We're passing the recorders around the circle. Bum ba da da ba ba da ba da ba da ba da ba ba. So now, with that tricky part, I wonder if I can trick you. Can you pick it up with just your right hand? Anne, can you pick up your recorder? Yes. Thank you for following directions, Anne. The first time. Thank you.
I was trying to get my fingers. First time listening.
Okay, so now, and I'm using a lot of teacher talk because we're on a podcast, but ideally I would not be talking this much. It's just you can't see what I'm doing. So now I have my left hand that was on the top of my head. Now I can put it on my recorder. And then I put it down. And we sing the song, we play the game again. Next time, let's see if I can trick you because you passed level 1. Let's see if this tricky tron part, I can trick you this time. Left hand is on top. Ooh. Oh, and I take my thumb and I can put it right there. I can squeeze it as hard as I can. And then, now I have a circle on my thumb.
Circle.
Do you have you got your circle right there. Okay, put it down. And we sing the song. We do this whole thing again. But now, okay, so let's see. My left hand is on the top. My right hand is on the bottom. I've got my circle thumb. Put it on the circle. So my circle thumb is smashed in there. And now I wonder if I can. 1, 2, 3. Squeeze as hard as I can. Oh, you got your circles? Yes? Do you have them? Yep. Oh, look around. We all got to say, okay, put it down. We sing the song again. Okay, so now thumb, left hand, right hand on the bottom. Just 1, 2, 3. Don't worry about your pinky right now. Squeeze as hard as you can. Oh, I got my circles. Do you have your circles? Oh, okay, great. So you get this idea. We're going through just like a bunch of exploratory things, and I can also come up with different combinations, and students can come up with different combinations of how they want to put their fingers on the recorder. This is the tricky part. And so whatever level you get to, that's the level that we get to. And that's it for a recorder that day.
Love it.
And we put it away and we'll pick it up, next class, next episode.
Love it. I'm going to ask the annoying question. Are your recorders labeled?
No, great question. Like, good question. Recorders? Excellent question. No, this is before anything happens. We're not playing them. No one's recorders belong to anyone. If you have like the weird wonky colored like blue recorder, that's in the mix. It's all good, whatever it is. And like I said, this doesn't have to be on recorder. You can do the same thing with a pencil. and you obviously don't have the holes, but you can still be doing, left hand on top, right hand on bottom, and the different finger combinations. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Great question.
Okay. Yeah, cool. No, I love this because that is a tricky part, and it takes a lot of time to sit there and be like, okay, does everybody have their thumb? Now put it here. All right, let's do this. All right, now it be my echo. So this eliminates a lot of that you would have to do in an activity like I shared ahead of time, because it gets kids, the next time they get the recorder, they'll immediately be starting to see if they got the circles on their fingers. They'll immediately get to like wanting to be in the correct position and practicing that, because that's what recorder is to them at that point, as opposed to the kid who's just going to, I've never done this before, I'm going to steal it. As opposed to the kid who just like grabs it and starts playing and like thinking they know what they're doing and just like squeaking and being banana pants. Like they're going to actually like be ready to kind of get into making music with the recorder. And it's embedded in a game, so it's not just like drill. It's not just like, oh wait, no, this is where it goes, let me correct it. It's in a game that has some spice to it that older kids would like, right?
Yes. So yeah. And the time bound element of it is in the passing game, so we have that going on. Right. And then I haven't done this, but I could say, I'm going to close my eyes, and when I open them, everybody has to be there, or we have not passed this level, or whatever it is. My students like really attach well to like levels, like you've achieved level 1, and like what happens at the end. No one asks. There's nothing that happens if you achieve all the levels, but it's fun because you've made it a game. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. No, I love that so much. Awesome. All right, so this was the end of Recorder 1. The next episode, we're going to go into Recorder 2, so maybe like next step further on in your recorder journey. Just a quick reminder that you can head to the episode. You could get all the episodes when they come out, as they naturally come out, or you can head to teachingmusictomorrow.com and get kind of a bonus episode with us talking about classroom management as it pertains to using instruments, as well as any repertoire or sequencing or slides that we have been sharing here on the podcast.